everyone, I'm Shannon Keebler, and thanks for joining me for our Math Crush Monday, where we are talking about what to do when students get answers wrong. So this is a hot topic. Obviously, in math expressions, we have Puzzle Penguin, and Puzzle Penguin talks about common errors that students at every grade level make developmentally. So he shows up in every unit, every single grade, and he does the most common errors for students. So that's one of the ways that we build and foster a safe place for risk-taking, for mistake-making, is we have a fictional character who makes the mistakes for us, so it makes it okay to talk about because it's not personal. It's not about one of us. Now, he's just the launching pad. The idea is that he's one that makes those common errors, so one, we get used to identifying common errors, but two, we start to figure out how to handle errors. How do we handle the human or the person that makes the error? How do we handle the error itself? How do we talk about it? Those are the types of things that Puzzle Penguin starts to teach us, but it doesn't stop with Puzzle Penguin. I really do think that we need to be talking about errors in every single class period. So let me give you some tips about how you might go about this in your classroom. So the first one is the 3 C's. I really like the 3 C's from Kathy Fosnot. I think that these are an easy thing to remember as you're walking around a student's work and you see something that doesn't look the way you want it to look. It doesn't have the right answer, it doesn't have the right method, whatever it is. So her 3 C's are this. First of all, she wants you to celebrate. What do you notice that students do understand? Now, this is one of my favorite strategies because I think that one of the ways that we save face for students is we don't start by telling them what doesn't work. We start by pointing out the things that do work. What do they understand? Like, I can totally see what this person was thinking. So when I have students like launch a problem, for example, and I say, everyone try this 2 different ways on your board, I will choose various boards to bring to the front to now launch our conversation around. So what do you think about this one? So let's just say it's story problems. And I might show this board and I might say, so do you think this one tells the story? We just told the story, we acted out the story, they had to go back, draw a model, maybe write an equation. And I'm not saying yes or no. But before I do that, I might even say, so I want you to take a look at this and I want you to decide whether or not you agree this matches the story. Because one of the things I'm really liking that this mathematician did was, and I'm going to point out something they did. Like, I really like that they started with the model, and I can tell that their equation matches this model. I also really like that they changed their mind. You can see over here that they did kind of an X through something and they came over here. So let's focus on this part of their work. And now I want you to have a conversation about what you might agree or disagree with. Okay, so I've already set the stage. I've celebrated what they do understand or the pieces of their work that work. The second one is I'm going to clarify. Okay, so especially if it's with an individual student, tell me more about this part. So I really like what we have going on here. I can tell that you're understanding X, Y, Z. So tell me more about why you chose the area model. When I'm thinking maybe it should have been an array or it should have been in equal groups, because oftentimes what they say makes total sense to me. I'm like, oh, I could totally see why you would think that. And actually that works. I'm gonna let you keep it. Or I can see how, now I see what error you're thinking and why you might have thought that. Let me help connect it to where you have to go. But it's when I provide or get clarification that I really hear and understand what students really think versus I'm doing the work on the board. They're just mimicking me. So yes, their board looks right, but it doesn't mean they understand. Okay, so celebrate what they do understand, clarify, get some clarification about why they did what they did, and then challenge. The third C is challenge. I want you to challenge them. So I'm wondering now that we've had this conversation, if there would be a different model that would work better. I challenge you to go work on that. Great. Okay. I don't dictate what they have to do. I just give a challenge of, so I wonder if we were to put it back into an equation, if that would have helped you find your answer. Or if we would have counted by 3s over here on our chart, I wonder if that would have helped prevent the computational error or whatever. Okay. I wonder if. And then I'm going to pose that challenge and I'm going to ask them to reflect and to revise their thinking. So notice and wonder would be then an additional strategy of, again, I have this board and I'm just saying, I want to see what you notice. What do you wonder about this student's work? Here are some things I noticed. Now I'm thinking, what do you think? Okay, what do you notice? What do you wonder? And I'm posing it in that way because I'm trying to get students to not just lambast students, right? Like lambaste them in terms of, well, that's wrong and that doesn't work. I'm just posing it as, I'm not sure, like what part of this? And when we wonder, they start to pose it that way. Like, I'm wondering why they chose to do an addition equation. Okay, great. Why don't you turn and talk to your neighbors about why do you think someone might have done that? And what do you think their next step should be? Empathy is such a big, important skill in the classroom. Can you understand why someone might think that? And what might be their misunderstanding? That is such a deeper level of understanding in general, that DOK level. So we're noticing and we're wondering, and then that saves face, of course, and it humanizes the word I'm looking for. It humanizes the entire math process. From here, we're going to reflect and revise. So after I've done the board and I've said, so here's what I'm thinking. I love these pieces. So I want to point this out again. This mathematician really understood blah, 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 blah. Friends, would you try to talk to your neighbor? What are you noticing? What do you wonder? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Okay, I'm going to have kids have that conversation. They lean in, they care more because I'm not pointing it out for them. I'm asking them to decide. Then I might ask for clarification. So I might say, okay, so we have some ideas about where we might go with this. Does anyone want to own this work? Okay, it's anonymous until then. So if someone wants to own the work and only the owner can own it, no one can own it for them. And if, let's say Maria was like, yeah, it's mine. I'm like, oh, Maria, thanks so much for letting us learn from you today. So let's ask some clarity. What were you thinking when you did X, Y, Z? Because we had some conversations we think we know. And then that allows her to justify her work and or revise. She's like, I forgot that it was supposed to be a 7, not a 6. I'm like, oh my gosh, kids, don't we do that all the time? I'm constantly making that error. Can you see what Maria was thinking? And everyone's like, yeah, me too. Okay, so we're having those conversations. And then I'm saying, Maria, what would you go revisit? What would you revise? And she's like, I would need to change. And then she tells us what she'd need. I'm like, what a good idea. Okay, everyone, I want you now to go back to your desk. I want you to revise and reflect your own work. What part of it is telling the story? What part of it does not work? And did you remind yourself, like Maria did, that maybe she should have counted by 3s? Would you go check your work again? Now everyone goes back to their seats. They do the same process. They're doing the same process that Maria did. Maria just was brave enough to share her work. Now, if she doesn't want to own her work, she doesn't have to. So even if she doesn't own her work, I'm like, oh, no one wants to own the work today? No problem. So whatever mathematician this was, I just want to say I really appreciate you being vulnerable to let us learn from you. And I love that you did X, Y, Z. And it looks like your next step might be, and then I'm going to point it out. And everyone's like, yeah, I agree. I'm like, okay, everyone, I want you to be like this mathematician. I want you to go back now and revise and reflect. So it is a class activity. It's not just this individual. Now, I can go through that exact same process with an individual. But when I honor mistakes publicly, I'm saying this is just rough draft thinking. So I'm going to stay neutral. I'm going to not give any opinion about it. So tell me more about that. My face doesn't say that it's wrong or it's right. Like, I don't know. I'm keeping it neutral so that I can humanize the experience and get kids to continue to stay open. And it's rough draft. They know that it's not a finished product. We're just starting out with ideas. I think that we're going to talk about some ideas. I'll make some instructional points. And then you know what? You might want to revise and reflect your thinking. And you probably should. So my friends, I want you to go back now to your classroom and I want you to try a few of those things. You can try those exact same strategies with Puzzle Penguin. You can try the 3 C's: celebrate, clarify, challenge. You can try just the notice and wonder. Puzzle Penguin, a lot of it is just noticing what's wrong. I would like to say that is an important part of showing incorrect work, is if we only ever show it done the right way, kids don't know what it looks like when it's not done wrong. They just know they have to make it look like that. Okay, so try the 3 C's, try notice and wonder, and then try the reflect and revise, and really start to institute. This is just your first draft thinking. Now I want you to go back, that you have some more ideas, and I want you to reflect and revise on your work. All right, my friends, I hope that was helpful for you today. We'll see you next time online. Bye for now.